Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me and thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me and watch this video. Today we will make a little bag to hold. I have in here Get Well Soon card. I have been sick for so long and I received quite few Get Well cards. So I figure, why not? Let's make something to hold this in. When you give this to somebody, to have a really nice presentation. Now, it doesn't have to be Get Well Soon card. It could be thank you card. It could be sympathy card. It could be birthday card or any type of card. So this card that I have, it's approximately 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. But the holder for this, we will make it a little bit bigger so at least you have some options for the card sizes. So I will use, this is like a cream cardstock. And I will use decorative paper from this collection, Magical Thinking. When I like paper collection, I tend to buy few of them. And I know I use this collection for many of my projects. And I still have some of this paper, so I will use it for this project. Magical Thinking. This one, I believe I got from Michael's last year. It has beautiful papers on the inside that could be used for so many different things. So I'm choosing to use this one. For the cover of the holder, I am using this as my base. I think it's very pretty. It's like a very light pink with little stars. I use that one also for other projects, but I really like it. I think it's very pretty. So we will use the cardstock, but we need to trim it to size. I don't want to use entire cardstock. I want to make it a little bit smaller, but not exactly to this size. We need a little bit of the playroom. So since this card is about 5 3/8, I am going to make it approximately 7 inches wide. So I'm going to take 2 sheets and we will cut this down to 7 inches. Now I don't have the cardstock, at least cream or white, that is 12 by 12. 12 by 12 could be enough. I'm not sure. I'm gonna work with what I have. So let's glue these 2 sheets together. Now when you glue in those, I am using my board to kind of align this straight. I want to make sure that when we glue it, we got almost like a continuous sheet. All right. So now this will be a little bit too long. So we will need to trim it. We need to make sure that that glue joint will end up being on the back of this card. So I'm gonna position it like that, approximately here. So I want to give you dimension. We will trim off approximately 3 inches from this side. Okay, so let's trim 3 inches. And now we will score. So we will score this at 5 inches, 10 inches, and now we will trim it to size. So again, I'm going to use this board as a guide. So we have 5-inch score, 10-inch score, and I'm lining up right here with my board because from this last score, I want 2.5 inches. So I am gonna cut this in 2.5 inch mark with my knife. The knife I purchased at Home Depot. I really like these utility knives. I have quite few of them, and they are really good, I think, for that kind of type of cutting. So now, since we have this laid out on a board, I am also going to make a little angle. So this is our last score, 3 inches. So I will make it angle from 1 inch, and maybe I'm just going to mark it for you so you can see it. 1 inch in here and 2 inches on this side. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. 1 inch from the score. And I don't have this line up on the bottom, so let me realign it. So it's 1 inch, and on this side we're gonna make 2 inches right here, and the same on the bottom. Score 1 inch, and in here 2 inches. So I made these marks because now I want to trim this, because that will be our flap. Okay, so we trim it on both sides, just like that. So now we can just fold this over, just like that. And that will be our little bag. And let me just erase those pencil marks. Of course, you won't have to make these on yours. So now we can start decorating the front. So for the front, to cover the front and the back, we're gonna need 2 panels that measure 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. So let's just cut this 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, and we will need 2 panels like that. Now, for right now, I will not cut the flap. So let's decorate this. The border all around, it should be approximately 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Again, look at your scores and position this on the middle. Just like that. So this is what we have so far. And here is our flap. So now, I think this looks, it's getting to look pretty. We will cover the flap, but before we do that, I want to make some type of decoration right here. I have this little die cut, little hearts. So I will die cut all along right here, and I'm gonna try to position this kind of on the middle so it's nice and even. And you don't have to do this part, but I think it will give this little bit extra look. So if this is get well card or any type of card, I'm assuming that if you're giving this to somebody, that somebody will be special. And as you can see, when I'm cutting this around it, I'm cutting on the outside first. And then when I position the middle one, I'm paying attention to the distance between those hearts to kind of put this on the middle. And as you can see, now we have this really pretty border right here. It's kind of peeking through it. So now we can decorate this flap. I will also decorate that with the same paper, and I got this left over right here. So with this side up, we're gonna put this right underneath, just like that. Try to position it somewhat on the middle, looking at the top and the bottom. We will fold this over, and I will use my pencil to kind of identify it where the angles are. So this is what we have so far. And I will trim this just like that on both sides. All right, so now when I position this back in here, this is what we have. Now I'm gonna make a little mark right on the inside of those hearts, because I want to be able to see where we need to cut this to trim it. And you can see I have little marks in here. So I am gonna cut this just approximately 1/8 of an inch smaller. Same thing on this side. Just like that. So now I got my two little dots right here, and I'm gonna do the same thing, approximately 1/8 of an inch smaller. So now when we position this, and before we glue it, we will check. So if I position this, I'm not covering any of these hearts, and that's what we want. If yours is a little bit too far, just trim it just a tiny bit more. And maybe I will do that because I do want to see a little bit more of that white border. So I'm going to trim it just a tiny bit. And let's try it. And I think this will be much, much nicer. So let's glue this. And if you want, you can do it this way. Just like that. Let's squish this. And this is what we have. I like it. I think it's pretty. So we will leave it just like this. So we also need to do something on the inside. We don't have to, but we could. So you could decorate all of this. And I would suggest to decorate at least those two panels, because this is where the joint is. And you don't want to see that. So I think I'm going to use this little bit darker. It's like a dusty pink. And we're going to cover those two sides. So let me just fold this. And we will trim this to the same size as whatever we had on the outside, which would be 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. Six 3/4. By 4 3/4. And we will cut two of them. And we got this little piece left, and this we will use for the flap. So now we will decorate it this way, right here, right here, and this we will use for the flap. Now, if you want, you could also use different paper on this panel from that collection, that's totally up to you. I will use just plain one because I'm thinking of making maybe something a little bit, add something to this. Again, we will have the border of about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, this is getting there. And I think I will use this one for this panel right here. Again, because we're gonna be applying it this way, so the correct side, you wanna see it on the top, position, just like we did before, on the middle. I am gonna make those little marks just to see where we wanna cut this. So right at the edge of those hearts, I'm making the marks. And now we will trim it. When we are trimming, I'm trimming 1/8 of an inch less than the mark. Just like that. And the same thing on this side. So now, as you can see, when we position this, we can still see the hearts. It's really pretty border. So let's apply this. All right. So now we have inside, outside. This is how this looks. So now we want to make something pretty in here. Now don't forget that any type of card you're going to position in here, most likely it's going to have very pretty design. So just be careful when you are putting covering the inside. You don't want this to be too busy because it's going to take away from your card. So in here, I'm thinking of making a little pocket just so we can put this in. And the pocket, for the pocket, you could use anything you want, but again, I don't want to make this too busy. So I will use the leftover cardstock that I have from here. Or we can use whatever we used on the outside. So you just want to make sure that this is really not too busy. Maybe I use this one. So we will cut this. And I don't want this pocket to be too deep. So I will make it only 2 1/4 because I want to see more of this card when I place it on the inside. And in here we will make the same as the paper on the inside, which is 6 3/4. You might make it just a tiny bit more So 6¼ and just shift it just a tiny bit. And I did this because I want it, and I cut it too short. So I didn't measure it right. This is 6¾ That's okay. I do have more of that paper. So let's do this again. 2¼ and I will double check and triple check my dimensions. 6¾ 6¾ plus tiny bit more. And this is the reason why we always check. So now we can just make little pocket right here. So for the pocket, we're gonna apply the glue only on 3 sides. And just a little bit of glue. Just like that. And I do want to cover all of that pink from underneath. Okay, just like that. So now you can see we can put the card and it has beautiful presentation. So now on this side, I do want to make something also. If you want, you can leave it just like that and make additional notes. So you can make additional notes if you like, but I want to place something in here. So now, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think this just looks a little bit too plain. So what we can do, anything in any collection that you are using, if you are using paper from the same collection, most likely you can apply anything you put there, it will fit. Because obviously the collections are done, so everything matches. So let's see, I saw these pretty borders somewhere in here. So I'm thinking maybe to add something right here. And we can do few different things. I'm thinking of using this butterfly because I want to stay within the same type of colors in the whole thing. If I would use black, there is nothing dark on this side. If I want to use this, the same thing, nothing dark on this side. But since we have been using this paper, I want to make little band to put it across right in here. And I don't want this to be too wide. So we will make only approximately 1.5 inches. I think that will look pretty. And we're gonna cut this down to also 6 3/4 and then shift it just a tiny bit. So this is 6 3/4 and just a tiny bit more. So now I'm thinking of applying this right here to make it little sleeve, because maybe you do wanna write little additional note. Maybe you do wanna include some type of gift card. It's totally up to you, but I think this would be very nice. So for the band, we're gonna apply it only on the top and the bottom, and of course not too much glue. Just like that. And I'm gonna put this on the middle. Let's make sure this is stuck. And as you can see, this right now, to me, it still looks very plain. That's why I'm thinking of adding something. And, you know, I think this butterfly would be absolutely gorgeous. If I put even this, it would be, I don't like the too much dark. So we're gonna cut out one of these butterflies. And because I don't want to ruin the entire sheet, I will just trim it this way. Just like that, so I can cut out this one butterfly. Just like that. And I'm thinking of positioning this just like that on a little angle. You could position it straight. I think this is gonna give additional, totally different look. And again, since we are designing this, we can do whatever we want. So if I'm applying this like that, I'm gonna put most of the glue right here from one side to another. Not too much so it wouldn't spill over that band. Just like that. So now you have beautiful additional pocket right here. You can put something else right there. So on the inside, I think this is all done. We need to finish decorating on the outside. On the outside, I was really thinking of making this as a little bag, but I think I'm gonna leave it just the way it is with the little closure right in here. Now, for the closure, we can do pretty much anything we want, but I think I will go back to my border. And I think I am gonna use, we could use this butterfly also. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I will cut another butterfly. I will cut it from this side. Just like that. And I'm gonna position this right here. Now for this, I will just make these corners a little bit prettier, so I'm gonna round them up just a tiny bit. Just like that. And I want to glue this somewhere on the middle right here. So I'm going to put it towards the bottom, but on the middle from one side to another. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I will apply a little bit of glue on 3 sides. So you got glue on both sides and the bottom. And now I'm going to position this just like that on the middle. And I don't want to see any of this pink on the bottom. Now you saw me, I put my finger a little bit in here because I want this to puff out just a little bit. I don't know if you can see it, but there is little space in here. And now we will make the closure. So the closure is going to be from the top, kind of slipping onto the inside. So since I have been using butterflies, I will use butterflies for the flap. So I think I'm going to cut out these. Just like that. And now, since we are the designers, I will also use some of this. And I don't want this to be too wide, but wide enough so I can apply those butterflies to the top. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna trim this too. I'm gonna trim it a little bit bigger. So I'm trimming to 2.5 inches. Okay. And of course, this does not have to be that long. We need to be able to slip it right inside underneath. So I am gonna cut this to approximately 3 inches. And I'm not gonna take out the board, just 3 inches. Just like that. And we will score. We will score this at 1.25 inches. Just like that. And we will glue this together. Now, as you can see, this shifted a little bit, but that's okay. We can trim this. But before we do any type of trimming, I do want to apply those butterflies right here to the middle of it. So I am gonna just run a strip of glue from top to bottom. And I will try to position this on the middle from top to bottom, just like that. Okay, so now we can trim. Okay, and as you can see, we can see a little bit white in here. We will trim this off also. You don't want to see any of that on either side. So now we have our little band, and that will be our closure, just like that, to the inside. Now, I don't want this just pure square, so I am gonna cut just a tiny angle on both sides, and I will cut small angle on this side also. So now this will be our closure, just like that. And this really doesn't have to go that far on the inside. So I will apply a little bit of glue, just like that. I'm gonna put this here. And let's make sure that this is stuck. Okay. So now here is our closure. It looks pretty on the inside. When you fold this just like that, and we will slip this right in. Here it is. And now in here, for decoration, we can put a little bow or something, whatever you like. I actually like this look. I will not put anything else on it. And this is pretty much our project. So I hope you like that. I hope you enjoy watching me making this. I think it came out absolutely adorable. I think that would be such a beautiful gift to give it to somebody as a get well card, thinking of you, maybe thank you card. I think it's a beautiful presentation. I think anybody would love to receive something like that instead of receiving just simple envelope. So if you like this project, if you enjoyed it, please hit like button, share, comment, and subscribe. All of those things really help my channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon in my next video.